stuff.
Yeah.
Including t-shirts.
But I suppose Kirsten should talk about that. All right, let's get this meeting back in order. 8:36. Treasurer Hyde, let's talk about the budget,
Let's talk about the budget. Let's pull
specifically,
up the budget and then I can talk
specifically
about it.
last year's budget.
First, I apologize that there's no notes in the minutes because the one that got linked is the one with the new logo and all the notes are on the old template, so we'll get that fixed for next time. And I'll get it to Yulia before the minutes are done so they can be a part of it. So we met on the 16th to review the preliminary budget from the end of the year. The biggest thing to note is the preliminary net income was -189. And the budget that we voted on was showed a deficit of 33.5, so it's a difference of about $155,560. A lot of people have been digging into where that discrepancy has come from, and 138 of it has been attributed to gen ed salary budget variances. So far, our accountants have found almost 19 encoding updates that positively benefit that number. So when we see them again at the next meeting, they'll be about 19 better so far. And there is some unbudgeted gen ed and kinder care stipends that were paid out and weren't budgeted in the right place. Those are still getting looked into. Another big variance was our budget for substitutes. We lowered it quite a bit compared to the previous year and used more than we anticipated. And then there was some staff that was budgeted towards sped clocking gen ed time that wasn't budgeted for. So that's being looked into as well. That being said, even with where the numbers are, the preliminary numbers at the last meeting, our cash on hand is at 89 days and we need to be above 60, so we're doing quite well there. And also in the meeting, we talked quite a bit about how we can do budgetary reviews line by line, and then other process improvement areas, especially towards this discrepancy between the last two budgets. And there's a couple ideas there. And then we talked about getting some new finance committee members. Year after year, it's the same faces, and I'm not gonna be here forever, and I don't think all the parents on the committee are gonna be here forever, so I think it's important that we start to get some new faces there outside of our wonderful board members that are the only new faces, it seems like. And then we wanted to have expansive discussion on line item review plans. Thanks to but we're gonna move that to a future board meeting after the new Ashley is up and running and can be a part of that conversation. Like I said, I'll add these notes to the minutes and get that fixed for the next meeting, and I will entertain any questions.
Is there any news on the remaining PPP loan balance forgiveness?
Didn't she just
I
reach
didn't-
out about that today?
Not that I saw. Was that Brenda?
Yeah, I thought Brenda did.
I didn't see anything from Brenda I haven't seen anything from Brenda. This is all from, everything I have that's updated from our last meeting is from Kelly. I forwarded it to some people. If anybody else wants to go through it, let me know.
Not necessarily a question, but a request for the finance committee. With the fee that we pay for accounting services and the weight of the mistake that was made. I know it's a big year with a new operations director and some change to staff structure, and I have heard that we don't want to necessarily change who our accountants are. And I'm not advocating for that necessarily, but I would like to request that the finance committee consider doing an RFP for services and maybe not doing anything with it. But I think, one, it informs us of what our other options are. And two, helps keep them honest and reminds them that the mistake that they made was not lost on us.
Yep. Yeah, noted. We'll put that. I will also add that a part of the line item budgetary review that we've been discussing, we will do something like that with almost all of our third-party vendors to see if there's better deals or better services for the same money that we can find.
Good. Yeah. And I think the other part of that is when we have the audit, I think we should look at it really, really closely.
Mm-hmm.
Not that we don't usually, but
Yep.
but maybe with an even larger magnifying glass this time around.
Yep. Yeah, noted. The audit company reached out to me today for the first time to start the audit for the year, so.
No, this was really eye-opening to us, like what happened there, and that can't happen again. And yeah, I really take your point there to look into other options.
Mm-hmm.
All right, any other comments or questions? Okay. Thank you, Treasurer Hyde. A point of order, I did skip over an action item back in the director's report, so I'd like to circle back to that. In the board packet are the proposed lunch pricing for this school year, 22-23. And it requires board approval. So I'll make a motion and then we can discuss. I move to approve the proposed new lunch fees as shown in the board packet for school year 22-23. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Treasurer Hyde. Discussion.
Good question. Did we talk about this and I missed it, or we just?
We haven't talked about it.
Okay.
This came after the committee of the whole.
So how is the price increase? How is that set at 5? Like, who reports to us that it's a 5% increase? Is that just kind of what we're saying that our cost? Sorry,
Are you able to speak to this? Or?
No, Ashley would have been able to, it's the vendor, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the vendor raised their prices.
So vendor price increase 5%. And that is basically passed along to the parents.
So I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
You're also into this, but wasn't last year, all last year was everybody eats under the federal or whatever money that was?
Yeah, it's free.
So is the 410 2021, 22, yeah, okay, so that's the 2 years ago price. I know there was an added price if you wanted to like do the double version or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor of approving the new lunch price proposal of $4.30 per lunch and 55 cents per milk, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, we'll get back on track with Governance and Leadership Development Committee.
Yeah, it was a pretty quiet, first meeting as far as attendance goes, but I think Lori and Elizabeth and I, got to the bulk of, what we wanted to get to this, month, mostly focusing on some things that needed to be updated in, policies 509, 509.1, and 509.2, which are all dealing with enrollment. That came from St. Thomas, and was kind of a fluke from last year that Nicole and I talked about. Concerning those policies, Elizabeth was going to reach out to Nicole and Creswell and hopefully get a special session of governance to talk about those enrollment policies specifically. But she felt like further discussion that was a little bit more pointed towards those aspects, especially if people can't make the governance meetings, which are almost ready to roll out. Other than that, we focused on one other policy before kind of running out of time, which is the school weapons policy. And there was not much to note initially on that, but we're hoping to look into it more with more time coming up. So most of our hour was spent on enrollment, so
And did that get resolved?
mostly yes, they wanted a little bit of clarification, which is why Elizabeth was looking for some work with Nicole,
Okay,
so
that's
hopefully,
the last piece before our
Yeah.
reauthorization.
yep, and that hopefully will be done by September's board meeting, so that's a goal.
Director Albers, wasn't there something with the bylaws too that was flagged? Just with the numbers of the statutes that were listed? I thought we had fixed those, but
Not sure, to be honest, I'm gonna look into it more.
I didn't forward anything about that to them. I don't,
I can address it, yes, they flagged a, inaccurate reference to the statute, and it sounded very much like update the bylaws the next, or change it the next time you
Oh,
update the
that
bylaws.
thing.
It
okay,
sounded less like you have to address it right now.
okay. Good. No, we recently had our lawyer review the bylaws and that was, he gave me the new number to put, so I'm wondering if I just missed one. We'll see. Okay, well, thank you for digging into that. No policies to approve tonight then?
Nope.
All
We're
right.
not ready yet
Yeah.
with our new somewhat schedule of making sure that they go through both months first and then being able to cut off for summer, so
Mm-hmm,
should be ready to go next month.
sounds good. All right, final item on the agenda is our committee of the whole. I just wanted to mention an action item that I failed to mention at the meeting, so I'm gonna mention it now. I'd like all committee chairs to work with your committees to revise the committee charter. So you should have access to last year's charter and then basically look at the strategic plan and make sure anything listed in the strategic plan for a milestone that relates to your committee, that it's captured in the committee charter. You can update members and that sort of thing. Has anybody, so we've been advertising in the room brief for more volunteers. Has anyone been contacted for volunteers? Just curious. Okay. So I think we'll run that again tomorrow. Thank you, Kirsten, for putting together that nice summary of all the committees that we were able to hand out.
And to talk about,
organizational things about committees, I found, at least for the communication committee, there's a Google group. So I asked Jesse to, like, for now, me and Catalina are manager of this group so that we can add all the members that are in the group and can communicate that way really easy and give access to documents and all of that.
Perfect.
I mean, I guess there's for every committee, there's a Google group.
Okay.
There might be members in the Google group that are not even at the school anymore. I mean, at least it was on the Google group of the communication outreach committee.
So then I'd like to review the charters at the September committee of the whole and then approve them as a board at the September meeting. Sound good? All right. And then I'd like to approve or ask for approval of the board meeting schedule.
Are you referring to board meetings or all committees?
So in the packet, I've written for most committees that these dates are to be confirmed by the committee. So I think right now we just need to approve our board meetings that we have planned
Yeah,
and the committee of the whole. Since those are board meetings, I'd like to make sure those dates are okay with everybody. I did move the committee of the whole in February from the Tuesday, which is Valentine's Day, to Wednesday. In case you guys like to celebrate, we do, so.
And no December meetings for either.
Yeah, so per our bylaws, we don't meet as a board in December and in July unless absolutely need to. We can call a special meeting. And it's up to committee chairs if you'd like to meet in December or if you'd like to take that whole month off. I don't think I have a committee of the whole that month. Yeah, so nothing in December for me. All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve the board meeting schedule and the committee of the whole schedule as shown in the board packet. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Albers. Discussion?
Are you planning to have a committee of the whole meeting in October, or is that just completely canceled?
I think it's canceled because I looked at it and it's hard to fit it in with that week off, and then the board meeting comes up right after. Finance is that Tuesday, so we'll just take a break.
Well, you might be moving finance meetings. We'll know that.
What are you thinking for finance?
I'm gonna make a proposal to the finance committee of looking at the first Tuesday of the month. The idea is, right now, we look at numbers, so for 3 weeks ago roughly. The idea is to give the accounting team a little more time. So they don't feel as rushed. We think that might be part of the reason why some things aren't trued up as much as they should be. But if we go 2 months behind and meet the third week, then we're looking at stuff that's 10 weeks old and it's hard to really react if we actually need to for some reason. So I think a kind of a middle ground of, moving a finance meeting to the first Tuesday of the month, but looking at stuff that's 8 weeks old is a decent compromise there. So that's gonna be my proposal, but I would also be open to other times of the day. This is the time and date that I inherited with the committee. So I'm entirely open to looking at other times as well.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor of approving the schedule, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Abstentions, motion carries, thank you. All right, Is there any new business anyone would like to bring to the board? Hearing none. I move to adjourn.
It's 9.
Unanimous consent to adjourn?
It's not even 9.
I know,
Look at that.
rocking it.
See, we got started 7 minutes.